I'm guaranteeing everybody a card from 1909 to 1941. I'm guaranteeing that one to be a Hall of Famer. I'm guaranteeing your Ted Williams. I'm guaranteeing you a Ted Williams from the 50s. From the 50s that will be a 7 or better. I am guaranteeing you an additional 50 Hall of Famers from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. I'm going to tell you something, folks. Wouldn't it be nice if we could open up a box of old vintage cards and have nothing but the great players? Wouldn't that be nice? Isn't that a nice thought? To open up a pack of cards and have nothing but Mantles, Mays, and Williams, and Aarons, and Christy Mathewsons, and Eddie Collins, and that's what we're doing tonight. That's what we're doing right here. This is, and I'll tell you something. Now, this is the honest to goodness truth. I got a phone call yesterday. I've been told about this item to be run tonight. And my buyer, Keith, calls me up and says, "Now, what do you think of this?" And I went, "Okay, lay it on me." He says, "We'll guarantee him a pre-war card. We'll guarantee it graded 40 or better. And we'll guarantee him a Hall of Famer." I went, "Great, great." He said, "Plus, we'll guarantee him a Ted Williams." I went, "Great." I said, "What price?" He said, $199. I said, "That's awesome." He said, "No, we're going to guarantee their Ted Williams will be graded a 7 or better." And I went, "That's it. That's it. That's awesome." He went, "Are you ready? Are you sitting down, Don? I'm going to give him an additional 50 Hall of Famers." And that's when I went, "No way." He went, "Yes." I said, "So in other words, every single card they get will be a Hall of Famer, or in just a few cases, because some of you want a future Hall of Famer, because I do understand there are like some Mark McGwire rookies and Griffey Jr. rookies and the like that you might get also, but because we know where they're going and the price of those cards, I know you won't mind. But nothing but Hall of Famers. And that is just blew me away. Look at this old Hack Wilson from 1933. Look at this Hack Wilson from 1933. The last National Leaguer to hit 400, Bill Terry, who did it in 1930. And, of course, you're guaranteed the last man to hit 400. You're guaranteed the Ted Williams. I'll tell you what, folks, this is one of those, and you know what makes this deal so neat to me is because this is a great item for fathers and sons to get together, and grandpas, if you're out there and you want to buy it for your grandchildren if they're collecting baseball cards, this is a great item for you to order so that when you go through this, you can tell your kids, when you show them the Willie Stargells, and you show them the Babe Ruths, and you show them the Joe DiMaggios, and you show them the Ernie Banks and the Al Kalines and the Steve Carltons and the Bob Gibsons. I remember, just speaking of Bob Gibson, I'll just tell you a story. This is how card collecting has meant to me. And then one day I got a chance to meet Bob Gibson on this show. He came on our show. But I'll never forget in the 1960s, 1969. I was just about 6 years old, and we were going, I'm a Cub fanatic, and we're going to Wrigley Field to watch the Cubs. And I'm like, "Dad, I could hardly wait today to go up and see the Cubs and see Ernie Banks and Billy Williams and Randy Hundley." And he said, "Don, today we're not going to see the Cubs play. We're going to see Bob Gibson pitch." That's what I'm talking about. It was those kind of stories. And I'd be like, "Well, Dad, what do you mean? What was so great about Bob Gibson?" He said, "Well, last year he had a 1.12 ERA, threw 13 shutouts in 1 year. And from that day on, and then I went and saw Bob Gibson beat the Cubs 2-1. From that day on, I was a Bob Gibson fanatic." That's the kind of memories that ball cards make for you. That's the kind of enjoyment. My father and I could sit and talk about baseball all day long, and you're going to get nothing but baseball. All day, every day. Try to get on the line on this, folks. It is the opportunity of a lifetime. Nothing but Hall of Famers. Listen to me well. You just won't ever get a chance like this again. I'm not sending out any commons. Never before have I said that. I'm not sending out any commons. I'm sending nothing but Hall of Famers. Nothing but the best baseball players that have ever played the game. And it's only $199. That breaks down to less than $4 a card. Do you know what 1952 Bob Feller's book? Hundreds of dollars. Do you realize what, let's see what I've got here. Here's a 1950. Let's see. No, that's a. Get my year right. 1958. Yeah, 58 Ted Williams. You know what that books? Hundreds of dollars. Hundreds in a near mint 7, plus it books thousands. But I'm going to guarantee, look at it, here's a 61 Mantle. That books hundreds of dollars. 56 Mays, hundreds of dollars. 54 Mays, hundreds of dollars. 59. Folks, I'm telling you, that is the beauty of this package. Every single time you order for $4 a card, do you know, I don't know if you can find a card from 1909 that's $4 anywhere in the world. Not only am I going to give you a card from 1909 to 1941, I'm going to guarantee it's a Hall of Famer. Folks, you just don't get that kind of a promise. And our vendor has promised me that that is exactly what you're getting. 52 of the greatest players that ever played the game. 52 of the greatest players that have ever played this great game, the national pastime. All those people that are on the line, congratulations. I am limiting you so that I can give you different cards. I'm limiting you to how many you can buy. And the only reason the main reason I'm limiting you is because we're guaranteeing nothing but the greatest vintage cards and the greatest players of all time, because we're giving you nothing but the best players, I have to do a limited quantity of these. I mean, it's one thing to go out and tell a vendor, hey, go out and buy me cards from the 50s, 60s, and 70s. It's another thing to go out and tell them, hey, go out and buy nothing but the Hall of Famers, nothing but the Sandy Koufaxes, nothing but the Bob Gibsons, the Juan Marichals, the Lou Brocks, the Joe Morgans, the Rod Carews, the Billy Williams, the Frank Robinsons, the Carl Yastrzemskis, the Mike Schmidts, the Bob Fellers, the Leo DeRochers, the Duke Snyders, the Enos Country Slaughters, the Larry Dobies, the Jackie Robinsons. Look it up here, Lou Gehrig from 1939. Here's a 1939 Hank Greenberg. Here's a 39 Joe DiMaggio. There's a King Carl Hubble. It's just, folks, this is just absolutely an opportunity the like of which you'll never have again. I mean, you are literally going to be blown away. It is absolutely what makes card. I mean, you know what I love about this? Is the anticipation of getting it. Because there will be no disappointment when you open up your box. There's not going to be a name you don't recognize. Unless it's somebody from 1909 like, let's see if I've got anybody here, like Miller Huggins. Some of you may go, who's Miller Huggins? Well, let me tell you what. He was the manager of Babe Ruth for the Yankees for years and years and years and played back in 1909. And Hall of Famer. And the card probably books, I don't know, 500, 600, 700, I don't know. All I know is this. It will be so much fun for you when you get this home. It will be so much fun for you when you get this home for $199. To me, it's like, it'll be like Christmas. And the beauty of it is when you open up that box, you won't have to worry about pulling out a Buddy Revell who you've never heard of, or a Johnny Applestein who you're like never heard of. You're not going to pull those names out of the box. You are only going to pull out Lou Brocks, Mel Otts, Ernie Banks, Willie Stargels, Joe Morgans, Rod Carews, Mike Schmidts, and then some of the future Nolan Ryans. And then we've also got Reggie Jacksons. That's all you're going to pull out, gang. You've got 5 minutes to dial. But the beauty of it is the Jim Palmers, the Brooks Robinsons, and then the future greats like the Ken Griffey Jr.'s, Mark McGuire's, Barry Bonds, and if you get any but like I said, Hall of Famers, but most part, nothing but pure Hall of Famers. So many people are on the phone line. You've got 5 minutes.